Welcome to this week's Whole Lotta Glove. I got a very special guest, leadoff hitter, Lexington native centerfielder Nathan Hall. Nice to meet you, man. Never met you before. Thank you for joining me, first of all. How's everything going?
Of course. First of all, thank you for having me, Grayson. It's awesome to be here. Couldn't be better here in Carolina. I committed here, and he was the first guy. He didn't know who I was. I never played at Clemson, so he never knew who I was.
Yeah.
But he shot me a text. He was like, "So pumped to have you as my teammate."
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Can't wait.
Yeah.
That's exactly why you come here.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach Mainieri says it all the time. You come here to play against the best, and if Arkansas, North Carolina, and Tennessee aren't the best, then I don't know.
What's your favorite John Bonham track?
Moby Dick.
Yep.
I mean, that his drum solo in that song is
it's pretty much all drums.
It's so fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we'll connect about that.
Yeah.
Proud to be partnering with Underdog Sports, my favorite place to play fantasy games. You got to check out Pick'em. It is so easy to play. Just pick 2 to 8 stats of your favorite player and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can go 20 times your money by going 5 for 5. Sounds like fun? Sign up with promo code COURT, C-O-U-R-T, to claim your free pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. I can't wait to see your interest.
Welcome to this week's Whole Lotta Glove. I got a very special guest, leadoff hitter, Lexington native centerfielder Nathan Hall. Nice to meet you, man. Never met you before. Thank you for joining me, first of all. How's everything going?
Of course. First of all, thank you for having me, Grayson. It's awesome to be here. Couldn't be better here in Carolina.
And you can look at me the whole time. Don't worry about the cameras.
Okay.
We're just talking.
Cool.
So I know you're busy with class. I know you're busy with practice and getting ready for games. You told me before you get every Monday off. So we picked a good day to do it. I kind of want to just go through your journey that brought you here to South Carolina. We'll start with I know you played at Lexington High School. Did you grow up and live in Lexington your whole life, or did you move here as a child? What was kind of your childhood that brought you to Columbia?
So I was born in Philly. Don't really remember much there. Obviously, my dad went to UPenn. He was a pole vaulter, and he studied biology. He's now a veterinarian, runs his own mobile business, doing very well. And, I look up to him a lot, but obviously he grew up an Eagles fan, so go Birds.
It's a good year for y'all.
Great year.
Yeah.
But ended up moving to South Carolina when I was about 7 years old. My dad got a job opportunity here and figured it was the best thing for him. And played baseball all my life. I mean, started when I was 5. And it was one of those things where, I always told myself I want to do this for a really long time.
Yeah.
And it kind of just started off with being at that young age when you're 5 years old, just naturally being better than everybody. The kids are missing the fly balls and you're not being able to hit the ball. And I was always the kid that was, able to hit the ball and routine pop up and I caught it and the parents would go nuts. And I was always like, what are you going crazy? I feel like that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But ultimately moved to South Carolina. Love it here. Went to Lexington High School, coached by Coach Hucks.
Oh, we'll get to Coach Hucks.
Great dude.
Love Coach Hucks.
Love Coach. And that's kind of where I, first started to deal with a little bit of adversity. I ended up making the team my 7th grade year, the B team. Didn't play at all when I was in 7th grade. We had some studs on that team at the time. And then ended up starting on the B team my 8th grade year. 9th grade was a bit of a challenge. I was a bit undersized, still was kind of just really relying on just the natural gifts that I was given, not really doing anything to really help myself develop at all, and just kind of hoping it would work out. Mm-hmm. Was on the JV team. I think I played third base at the time for the start. Weak arm, skinny kid. I think I was about 6'1", 145. Yeah. So really had nothing going for me. Not the best swing. Had a pretty poor year. I think I ended up hitting 180. Mm-hmm. And second half of the JV season, I got benched and. Coach Hucks let me have it one game. I remember I didn't slide into second base on a double play ball, and he let me have it. And then at that point, the rest of the year, I didn't play, and that was kind of an eye opener for me of wow, this is a big wake up call. I want to play this game, and there's kids that are passing me. I got to take advantage of this opportunity and try and get better. So I ultimately went to. P27, I didn't go there, but I went to some guys over there and really helped work on my swing. and narrow it down. And I had some conversations with my parents, and it was a lot of like, like, do you want to play baseball in college? And I was like, of course I want to play baseball in college. Mm-hmm. She was like, where do you want to go? Of course, I named South Carolina Clemson. Yeah. And they were like, well, Nate, that's great, but you're not good enough to play there. And I was like, I was a stubborn kid, and I was like, of course I'm good enough to play there.
Yeah.
Like, and then when I really thought about it, I was like, you're right, I'm slow. Swing's not good. My arm's terrible. Mm-hmm. So at that point, like, I started to really take my nutrition seriously, my training seriously. And in 10th grade, I put on a little bit more weight. I was still a skinny kid. I got up to about, I think, like 170. Yeah. Started to actually put balls out. Mm-hmm. And played first base on varsity to start. Really? Never played first base in my life. I was tall, so, Hucks was like, Nate, we'll throw you at first. Yeah. Started the season there, and unfortunately that was the COVID year. So ended up starting the year great, and then got cut short. And and then I played, this was next summer. So then obviously going into junior year, it's a funny story. I got a brand new first baseman, assuming I was going to play first base again. Mm-hmm. And Hucks came up to me while I was warming up. He was like, Nate, you got a new first baseman? It looks pretty sick. It was a 44 custom, had my name on it. It was awesome. Breaking it in, it was still pretty stiff. I was like, yeah, like, getting it loose. I'm like excited to use it this year. He's like, nice, Nate. Go take some reps at short. And I was like, well, I haven't played short. I haven't played short since I was about 12 years old. But ultimately, my junior year, didn't practice much at short. Played short. Had a really good year at short. Mm-hmm. I think that season. That was the best high school season I had. I think I hit about 530. Mm-hmm. Maybe 3 strikeouts. Really good year. 3 errors at shortstop. And it was at that point where kind of the recruitment process really started to kick up. Mm-hmm. And my first offer was from North Greenville. Coach Powell, awesome dude, and ton of respect for their program. And I know there's a bunch of guys here where it didn't work out, and they went there, and they are playing awesome. Yeah. So love what he's doing. And then after that, it was Coach Lee from Clemson, and he was one of those guys that he hadn't seen me play in person. It was a time where, he hadn't seen me play, and he just gave me a call. He was like, heard you played great baseball this year, Nate. Would love to link up and have you up in Clemson. I was like, I obviously know who Coach Lee is. Yeah. Like I love to follow. I follow Clemson, follow South Carolina, and I went up for a visit. I was playing summer baseball at the time with the Canes. And he ultimately told me, like, Nate, I haven't seen you play in person. I've only heard good things. I'm going to come watch you play. I think I've heard you're a great player. I've heard you got the tools. So see if you can put it all together. Yeah. And it was one of the games at USC Upstate we played. I forgot. It was a smaller tournament. But I remember seeing Coach Lee up there in the stands, and I was like, oh God, like, he's here to watch me. That's kind of crazy. Yeah. I think I had a pretty good game. I think I ended up putting 2 hits together. But there was one moment I remember I hit a ground ball to the shortstop. It wasn't hard hit at all. It was kind of just a chopper. And I beat it out. And I remember just seeing, after that moment, Monty got up and he walked away. And I was like, you didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. That might not be good. Yeah. After the game, he gave me a call. He was like, Nate, like, why don't you come back up to Clemson? Like, we need to talk some more. Mm-hmm. Went back up to Clemson. It was me and my dad. And drove me around on the golf cart, some places that I hadn't seen the first time I went up to his office, basically said, like, Nate, I really liked what I saw. Everyone's telling me good things, like, we want you here. And ultimately decided to play for him at that time. Yeah. Super excited, obviously to play for Coach Lee, but also to be a part of the rivalry. Yeah. It's amazing rivalry. It's intense. And at the time, it was almost like, having that label as like, Clemson commit was kind of like exciting to me, know, and kind of went into my senior year, had a good senior year, at the plate, not as good as I had my junior year, but it was still very good. I think I hit mid-4s and had quite a few errors at shortstop that year. I think I had like 13 errors at short, which is crazy. But yeah, I felt like I was ready to go. And after the season, I'll back up a little bit. Right before I went up to Clemson, we had a senior all-star game at Lexington. to kind of just wrap everything up. And it was in the middle of the game. I was on first base. I think I got walked. And the first baseman was like, "Nice walk, Nate. By the way, your Clemson coach just got fired." And I was like, you're messing with me.
Yeah.
It's whatever. And then two of my former teammates that are now on Clemson were on the other all-star team.
Yeah.
Walked over to me. They were like, "Bro, what are you going to do?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Did he actually get fired?" They were like, "Yeah." It was Jay Dillard and Ethan Darden.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no freaking way. Ultimately found out he got fired. And we got on a Zoom call with the assistant coaches. You know, they were obviously very upset. They were saying they really don't know what the future of Clemson baseball has, you know, if they're going to stick around, what it means for us. But, you know, they were pretty just straightforward. And I remember seeing, you know, the candidates for the new Clemson head coach job and, you know, some high, like, well-known names. And then I ultimately saw, you know, Coach Bakich get picked for the job. Mm-hmm. Didn't know much. Like, I really didn't follow college baseball like that besides Clemson and South Carolina.
Yeah.
So him being at Michigan, I really didn't know much about him at the time. Come to find out, he, I think it was 2019, he made it to the national championship. It was one win away from the Natty.
Michigan. Yeah.
Michigan, and then I think Vandy took him out in the next two games, which was heartbreaking. But, so I was like, okay, respectable coach. I remember I talked with him. He talked to the whole team. We were all we're pretty closed off because we didn't know him, especially the seniors coming back who played for Monty.
Right.
You know, didn't know much about this guy, kind of closed off. And but you know, come to find out, he was a great guy. I remember going up to Clemson to move into my freshman dorm. He was there to greet all the freshmen. He shook my hand. He was like, he looked at, I mean, I was pretty tall. I'm like 6'3".
Yeah.
He's not the tallest guy, but
Yeah.
he was like, "Dang, dude, it's the first time we met in person." He was like, "You're pretty big." I was like, "I try my best." Felt good. But yeah, I moved in and really came into my freshman year like with a pretty big head. Mm-hmm. You know, was the best player on my team in high school for my junior and senior year. And kind of just like thought it was going to work out for me. My freshman year, like, I'm good enough. Like, we got this, you know. Had a decent spring. Going into the year, I wasn't a starter. I kind of like took it personally at first for a little bit, and I was like, okay, like, you know, whatever. Ended up getting an opportunity. I started it out the year pretty well when I got that opportunity. I think I ended up hitting a homer early and was batting above 300 after I had, I think, like maybe 25, 30 at-bats.
Yeah.
And was going well. I was a starter for a little bit. And kind of just that same mindset, I was like, oh, we're cruising. You know, we're good. And I'll remember this forever. We're going into the Wake series, and obviously Rhett Lauder was their Friday guy.
Yeah.
Was getting ready to face him. And was, you know, trying to, you know, get myself, you know, pretty hyped up, like, oh my God, I'm going to get this guy. You know, I don't care how good he is. Which I feel, you know, some guys that mentality works. For me, like, I really didn't prepare for it at all. Like, that's great if you have that mentality, but I did nothing to prepare for it. You know, I was just like, I got this guy.
Yeah.
And did nothing. Like, didn't, you know, hardly did any scouting, didn't work on anything in the cages. And, you know, he ended up getting me. Like, first at bat, ground out, and then 3 strikeouts. Mm-hmm. And that was a game where it was like, I thought to myself, I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
You know, ended up starting the next game. Same thing. I forgot who threw, but it didn't matter who threw. Like, I was so in my head. I think I ended up striking out 3 times, whatever.
Was that when they had Burns? Did they have?
No, he was still on Tennessee at the time.
Oh, okay. He went over the next year.
Yeah, excuse me. But next game, ended up getting the start again. 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts again. Next game, we ended up getting swept, but Sunday, same thing. I think 2 or 3 strikeouts. Mm-hmm. And that was it after that. I got a couple other opportunities in there that freshman year, but never really panned out the rest of the year. And then, you know, it was like, okay, go to summer ball, regain my confidence, come back to Clemson, be the dude next year. Mm-hmm. So I ended up going up to Martha's Vineyard for summer baseball with my buddy Nolan. He transferred here as well. He's a former Tiger. Yeah. But ended up having a fantastic summer. Some of the most fun baseball I've ever played in my life. Ended up having a good year. Played center field every day. I think I hit the 3-hole every single day. Made the All-Star team. It was a blast. Mm-hmm. Came back to Clemson, and Clemson Bakich ended up getting an outfield transfer, which, looking back on it, really wasn't that big of a deal. But I made it a big deal for myself. I was like, does he not believe in me? Like, that's kind of what I thought to myself when it really didn't matter, And came back. It was the same thing. I was like, had a great summer. Like, they saw that I had a good summer. Like, we're good.
Yeah.
I'm a sophomore. I'm older. Went through a whole season. Like, we're good. Mm-hmm. And it was a point in my life where I really didn't know if baseball was for me. The fall was extremely difficult. I could never really figure it out. It was just like the mindset was terrible. The results were terrible. And it was every day I went to the field, it wasn't fun ananymore.
Yeah.
And it was just, I was fighting myself because all I could think about was like, I have to be the starter. I have to play this year, And that can't be the mindset at all. And I never did anything about it. Going into the season, I think I was maybe like third in line for right field or something. Like, it was going to be tough to get in there. And, I got my occasional pinch hits in, or pinch hit at bats. And, still, like, I'd put the weight of the world on my shoulders every single time I got in there when we're up like 15-0 against, these little schools on midweeks. And it was like, oh my God, I got to get a hit here, to have a shot next week to get in there. Obviously, never really, I don't even think I got, in any of those situations, it never went well. Yeah. Because it was never on, just having fun and playing the game. It was always like, I have to do this. And I was pressing so hard. And every single time I just felt like I was digging myself into a deeper and deeper hole. And, it was one day after a pinch hit, I had 2 pinch hits and I struck out both times. I think it might have been against Kennesaw State or something, but I called both my parents after the game. And the one thing I'll say about my parents is, regardless of what I do, they'll always pick the positives out. They watch every game.
That's all parents.
Always pick the positives out of
call mom
what
if
I
you
did.
ever go over
Exactly.
4. Yeah,
exactly. Especially my dad. My dad, I remember it was 2 like very not good at bats. Yeah, 2 strikeouts. And he was like, Nate, I thought you looked confident there. It's just, you got some work to do. And of course, like, me being stubborn, I was like, it was terrible, Dad. Like, don't say that, And I would just get so frustrated. Like, there was, I'd call my parents, like, starting to tear up and just being like, I can't do this. Like, I get in there, it's not fun. I'm trying to impress the coaches. It feels like a tryout every single time. And, talking with my parents, we ultimately decided that the best thing for me to do was to speak with a sports psychologist. Mm-hmm. So it was the back half of my sophomore year at Clemson. I think we were more than halfway done with the season. I started meeting with a sports psychologist, and we kind of just broke down my game, and he made me realize that the mindset I need to have is a simple mindset. Like, I would be in the fall, I would remember, like, I would constantly change, like, my load and my timing to, like, from just the regular load I have now to like a toe tap. So I could be like, oh, this toe tap. I was like, I remember the mindset I had at Clemson. I was like, oh, this is going to be good for me because my head's not going to move as much and I'm going to see the ball longer. And obviously when I failed doing that, I was like, well, I can't do anything right now.
The sports psychologist sounds more like a hitting coach to me.
Well, yeah, but
he's breaking down film with you.
We didn't necessarily talk about that, but we talked about kind of how to build a routine. And it was a point in my life where I had to find ways to get better besides just playing, which I'd never done before. It was very difficult, but after games, I'd go to the cages and I would set up the machine, and I would love to do this drill with Nolan. We would set the machine up. We would I think it was called like the eye pitch.
Yeah.
And we had the iPad and we would set it up high so that, and you couldn't tell, like it was humming. Mm-hmm. It would throw a high heater. You'd have to take it, and then you'd adjust it. It would throw it in the zone, and then you swing at it. I love that drill. I still do that drill today. Yeah, I feel like it helps me lock in. It gives me a lot of confidence. But at the end of the day, it was finding ways to make me confident. And it was at that point where I was really kind of just prepping for like midweek at-bats against guys. It was pitchers who really weren't pitching in game, and then the guys who weren't playing. Yeah. We would like on right before weekend series, like we would have like little live at bat sessions just so we could see an arm. And I remember feeling like, I was in there and I was so confident because of my preparation.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd ever gotten confidence from my preparation and my routine. And I'll back up a little bit because I had a good summer down up in Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard always does a scrimmage with the Cotuit Kettleers.
Yeah.
And so normally the best players or the guys that have a good season on the Vineyard go up to Cotuit. Mm-hmm. And so before my sophomore season started at Clemson, right after my summer season ended with Martha's Vineyard, I got a contract to play with Cotuit that summer after my sophomore year.
Yeah.
So was super excited about that. Ultimately, though, because of the year I had, I remember Coach Roberts. Love him. But he's a very honest guy. And he was following the entire year, and he'd shoot me texts. He was like, Nate, it would always start off, Nate, congrats on the series win, or Nate, tough loss today.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't in there. I was like, appreciate it, coach. But it would always start off with that. And he was like, notice you're not in there. And I was like, that's the first, like one of the first texts during the season was, I noticed you're not in there. I was like, oh no, does this mean I'm not going to get to go and play in the Cape?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what ended up happening was he was like, if you're not good enough to play on your Clemson team, I don't think you're going to be good. Like, I don't want to waste your time. Like, you need at-bats this summer, is what he said. And he was like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, you might need to go back to the Sharks for your at-bats. And, it was one of those situations where I was like starting to really like figure out like, okay, I might not be playing at Clemson for the rest of my sophomore year, but I'm gaining my confidence. I feel great in live at bats. Mm-hmm. And I still, as of now, have this opportunity to go and play in the Cape, even though this coach kind of doesn't really believe in me now. So I continue to persist, and I would tell Roberts, like, coach, like, I already had plans on coming up. Like, let me come up and let's just take some swings. Like, you can help me out with my swing a little bit. And, after that, if you want me to go back to the Vineyard, I'll go back to the Vineyard. And he was like, he's pretty set in his ways. So he was like, Nate, I don't know, man. Like, I'll think about it. Get back to me. He was like, he said the same thing. He was like, Nate, I've really thought about it. And at this point, he told me that, he got rid of my contract. And he was like, we're gonna set you up in the Vineyard. And I called him and I was like, coach, like, I remember saying something to like try and make it sound convincing. I was like, coach, like, my parents, we've already rented a house like for the season. Like at least give me a little bit of time with you.
Yeah.
I know you're known for your base running, but like help me out here. Mm-hmm. And he was generous. He was like, you know what, Nate, well, you can come up, if you come up before the season starts, like we can work a little bit together. So I spoke with Bakich. Basically said, like, as hard as it is, I knew I wasn't going to play in the regional and the super regional. As hard as it was to leave my buddies and my teammates, I told them, I was like, coach, like, I want to play and I need to play. And I think for me to have the best opportunity to play, I need to head up to the Cape early. And he agreed. And I didn't even make the playoff roster at that time.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an easy decision for him to be like, okay, go for it. So ended up leaving right after I believe it was right after Clemson beat Coastal for the first time, and went up to the Cape, met with Roberts, excuse me, and we took BP. And started out, he was like, Nate, you got a great swing, dude. Like, it's flat. Like, you get right to the ball. And he kept saying, he was like, I'm so confused. And I was like, coach, it falls on me. But it was still the same thing. He was like, Nate, like, I like what I see, but, you didn't play, and that says something. Yeah. So, but then he was like, you know what? We have that scrimmage against the Sharks. I'll get you in there. I want to see you against a pitcher. I was like, sounds good. So I remember I printed my ferry ticket to the Vineyard. I had it in my bag, and then he was like, "We'll keep you. Like, we want you for the scrimmage." I was like, "Okay, hold off a little bit longer." Yeah. Took the ferry over to the Vineyard. It was very nostalgic being there last year. It was so fun to go back and play against them. But ended up having a great scrimmage. I think I went like 2 for 4 with a homer and a single. And then we had another scrimmage against some like men's league team the next day at Katuitz's Field, where he kept me around for that as well. Did fairly well again. And then it was kind of just like seeing how far I can make it after that. Yeah. He just told me, he's like, well, I'll practice a bit more with you, Nate. Like we got a whole week until the Cape season starts. Like we're gonna run practice, and I want to see how you fit in with the team.
Yeah.
So practice went well. The entire week leading up to the season, it went very well. And basically said, Nate, like, contracts are kind of set right now. I can't give you a contract right now, but give me a week and I can give you a temp contract. So waited out a little bit longer again. And I remember Nolan got up late because Nolan was playing with Clemson at the time. So he got up a bit late, and he got up there around the time where Roberts told me, Nate, in like 2 days we play Harwich. I'm willing to give you a temp contract just to see, how you hang in there with high level arms. Yeah. So I was like, okay. Me and Nolan both got in there first time that game together. And it was, I was pretty nervous because I knew if this doesn't work out,
it's kind of a one shot thing.
I'm going back to the Vineyard. Yeah. But then I remember the things that I talked about with my sports psychologist and simplifying the game, and remember the whole routine that I was able to build at Clemson when I wasn't playing. Yeah. And I was like, there's zero reason for you to not be you have every reason to be as confident as you should be. And I got in there first at bat, I hit a homer. I got in there my second at bat, hit a double. Mm-hmm. Got in there my third at bat, I think I walked. Then my fourth at bat, I hit a single. Had a very good, and I remember thinking to myself, the home run was cool, but I hit a backside double. Mm-hmm. And the ball looked like so big and it looked like so slow. I was like, was that a changeup? Looked up at the scoreboard, it said 94. I was like, okay, that's cool. So obviously it kept me around after that game. Mm-hmm. Played the next game against Hyannis. I think I had another 4-hit game. Like I started the Cape season like like how anybody would dream. Yeah. And then, played a couple more games, played good enough. And it was at that point that he was like, we'll give you a full contract. Yeah. And not to say like the rest was great. I mean, it's the Cape. Like I think I went on like maybe an 0 for 15, 0 for 20 slump. And kind of had to check myself again because I thought again I was like, oh, like I did what I had to do. Like I'm here. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Went on 0 for 15, 0 for 20 slump, and was like, okay, like let's get back to work. Yeah. Got back to work. Worked on the things that I worked on at Clemson in the cages. Worked on the things in the field that I felt like I had to work on to give me the confidence to play again. And it was the target was more about just having fun and really just trying to do anything I can to help my team win instead of having the mindset of, oh God, like I got like, if I don't get a hit here, coach is gonna be pretty pissed. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was, the Cape was kind of the, I thank the Cape a lot for kind of giving me the mindset of me knowing that I am good enough if I work on what I need to work on.
Hey everybody, whether you're tired from tailgating or scoring touchdowns, there's nothing more important than a good night's sleep. It's time to upgrade your sleep at May River Mattress Company, the Low Country's mattress experts. At May River Mattress, not only will you find the top national brands, but you'll have an expert to help guide you through the process in finding that perfect night's sleep. Not to mention with their low price guarantee, you'll sleep well knowing you're getting the best value in the game. So why settle for anything less than a championship level sleep? Visit MayRiverMattress.com or stop by their local Bluffton showroom today. May River Mattress Company, where the Low Country goes to sleep.
It sounds like the Cape was kind of the springboard into what we're seeing now as Carolina fans, what you're doing in your junior year at Carolina. But before we get to kind of your journey or your starting point here at Carolina, I want to back out. That was a long answer. You're a good talker. I had a million questions lined up. You answered all of them. I want to talk about Coach Hucks. I've known Coach Hucks since I was probably 13. He was my pseudo catching coach when he was over at Brooklyn KC. So known him for, I guess, better part of the last 20 years or so. Okay. Talk about what he meant to you as a player, as a person, just kind of your development into what you've turned into as a great player.
He meant a ton. I mean, he believed in me when I was in 7th grade. He, let me join the B team when I was in 7th grade. A lot of my buddies ended up getting cut in 7th grade, and then had to try out again in 8th grade. So the fact that he was able to believe in me then, says a lot about him. And I hardly knew him at the time, but I remember I was pretty intimidated by him early on. He was freaking varsity head coach, and I was on B team, and I would see him just like come over because varsity would practice separate from B team, and he would occasionally come over and watch the B team practice, and I would be like, oh God, like he's watching us, like don't mess up. But he's been great ever. I'm most grateful for the moment where I remember I said earlier, I didn't slide into second base on a double play ball, and it was a lack of hustle, and I didn't think about it. I went into pinch hit or pinch run during that, and I was feeling sorry for myself. Yeah. And I remember getting back on the bench, and I was pouting, and he tore into me, like he let me have it, and he ultimately ended up telling me it was because he knew like I wasn't playing to my full potential. Yeah. And that was a big time reality check, and I'll always remember the belief he had in me going into my junior year, knowing that I hadn't played shortstop since I was on the B team. It's like, we want you to be our starting, shortstop on the varsity team. Like, it said a lot about him, and, it gave me a lot of confidence as well. So I credit him with, him giving me a ton of confidence to, help be a leader on that team. And, especially I had some during my senior year, obviously committed to Clemson, was a pretty big prospect, and the draft was a possibility. Yeah. I would put a lot of pressure on myself, a ton of pressure on myself. When I remember in my junior year, like, I didn't even know if I was going to play college baseball. Like, it was like, oh, he wants me to be the shortstop of varsity. Cool, I'll just do whatever I can. I ended up having the best year of baseball of my life. And then going into, senior year, it was, okay, if I have a good year, I could get drafted. Yeah. And that was always lingering in the back of my head. And I struggled. I think early on in the year, I was hitting below 300 and already made like 4 or 5 errors at shortstop. And, Hucks would always pull me aside in practice and be like, Nate, like, there's no need to put any added pressure on yourself. Like, you're the dude. I've believed in you since you got here, and he's the first coach that has been extremely hard on me because he saw the potential that I had and then become one of my biggest supporters down the road. But he's been unbelievable.
He's a huge supporter. I always see him on Twitter shouting you out and retweeting all your stuff. He's the man. Obviously, he loves you as a player and as a person. Yeah. So this is obviously a Carolina show. We'll get to kind of your Carolina career. Okay. But I love your answers about the sports psychologist, how important that is. It's such a mental game. I mean, people don't physical part of it's probably like 5%.
I agree.
95% of it is right here, and it seems like you've come a long way, which is awesome to see. I've never met you. Watching you on TV and calling your games, I just assumed you were a calm, confident person. So it's pretty cool to hear where you came from and where you are now. So you kind of went 2 for 2 on picking a school and it being the first year of a new head coach at that school. You did it at Clemson.
That's exactly right.
You pop into the transfer portal. Obviously, your relationship with Coach Lee was a big reason why you ultimately transferred to Carolina. Describe where you were, what was going on when you found out that Paul Mainieri was coming out of retirement to be your head coach here at South Carolina, or was it?
Yeah,
it was after you'd already committed, or did you commit after learning Coach Mainieri came?
No, I committed after. So when he was named the head coach, I didn't enter the portal yet. So
really?
I was still, so I was still like kind of planning on going back to Clemson. I was up in the Cape at the time.
Oh, okay.
But didn't enter the portal yet. And I remember seeing, his number. I didn't follow college baseball like that, so I had to look him up again. I was like, Coach Paul Mainieri. I was like, look.
Well, I was going to ask you if you knew about his. I mean, he's like legend.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I didn't know. So I looked him up, saw his resume. I was like, Clemson might have a problem, Yeah. And it's his first year here, but I remember seeing that, and I was like, shoot. Yeah. But I didn't hit the portal yet, but when I did hit the portal, it was, it was kind of like, I kind of need a fresh start, knowing like I'm playing well in the Cape, but kind of knowing what happened at Clemson for me. There was a shot that like if I struggled, like it could have, downward spiral again. Right. So I was like, kind of need a fresh start. And it was the first call I got was, and South Carolina wasn't even like a thought in my brain. Like I didn't know what school was
Right.
gonna, what was gonna happen. Like I would be happy with, like a small maybe D1, but Monte was the first call I got in the portal.
Yeah.
And it would be like, he told me, he was like, Nate, like, you're our guy.
Yeah.
And I thought he was crazy. I was like, Coach, did you see what I just did at Clemson? Like,
Yeah.
you serious? He was like, Nate, we want you to play center field. Like, you're our guy. And, I think that says a lot about Monte and the relationship that we have, him seeing me play in high school and, even, the failures and the adversity that I went through at Clemson, for him to still have that belief in me and be like, this kid's a good player. Like, we need him.
Right.
That instilled a lot of confidence in myself as well, where it was like, like, yeah, I am good enough, and that's a big reason. Big reason for that is Monte.
Well, it feels good to be wanted.
Absolutely.
It's a great feeling.
Absolutely.
So obviously 2025 now, you're here at South Carolina. You've been in the leadoff spot every single game. Lead the team in batting average, on base, doubles, walks, runs, stolen base, second in RBIs. You've already touched on it a little bit. What do you think has allowed you to unleash and get to that next step in your baseball career? You talked about the mental side of things. You think it's just your confidence?
I think it's my confidence and seeing that I can do this consistently. I think the biggest thing in baseball is being able to bounce back from failure. I think I was most pleased with myself after, going into Clemson. I think I struck out 3 times.
Yeah.
A hostile environment. In the past, I know that I would, kind of fall on my face and just let it spiral out of control.
Yeah.
And being like, what, we're good. It's a game of failure. Stuff happens. You're going to strike out. It was a hostile environment. Like you went back to the place that you played for 2 years. Now you're at the rival school. Of course, they're going to let you hear it.
Yeah.
But going into that next game and having a good game, it was like, oh yeah, like if I continue to do what, I talk with my sports psychologist about doing, like we're going to be just fine. And I just need to continue to have belief in myself. And another big reminder for me is it's like, Nate, you're physically you're good.
Yeah.
I work on my nutrition. I take my, Billy does a great job with us in getting us ready to go. But it's like, that's just another add-on.
Yeah.
So being able to, show off my physical ability along with, kind of being mentally stable and kind of just stay in the middle, regardless of what happens, is the biggest thing.
You literally took my next question out. I was going to say consistency and your mentality. You've had a hit in every game except 2 this year. And that's the definition of consistent. I was going to ask, mentally, how would you describe yourself as a player? Watching you on TV and getting to call some of your games, you seem like a guy that rides that middle really well. But you also said earlier you weren't always like that type. You were a guy that rode the wave. Would you credit all that to your work with the sports psychologist and just your growth and maturity as a player? I
would credit most of it, absolutely. But I look back on the moments where I rode the wave. Like there was a moment in the Vineyard where I said that I had a good year in the Vineyard. I did. I think I hit like 280, but I started out. I think I started out that summer hitting like 600. Like I couldn't get out, and it was like, no one can get me out. And I remember going into like the next game, like I was named like the player of the week for the league, whatever. I was riding the high, and it was like the first at bat of the next day, and I ended up working it to like full count. It was a good at bat, and then I grounded out to shortstop, and I remember thinking to myself, it was like that moment was like, why didn't you get a hit right there? You have to get a hit your next at bat now, and I didn't. And then it just, again, I went like 0 for 5 that game. And then that just carried on over. And I think I went from hitting it's like 480 to, I went down to like 280. But no, for me, it's always like, I've never played a full college season until now. And to go into the SEC, like I need to understand like facing the best pitchers in college baseball.
You're gonna get out a lot.
I'm gonna get out a lot. Focus on quality at bats. Focus on winning the next pitch, and focus on doing anything you can to help your team win. Just get on base.
Yeah,
no matter how you do it.
That's a great mindset to have, and it's clearly showing so far. Talk a little bit about Ethan Petrie. So you you played against him obviously for 2 years. I got to watch him from opposing dugouts at least for 2 or 3 games. All I've heard about the kid is he's a great kid, a great competitor, a great teammate. Not to mention a really good player. Yeah. Is that a pretty accurate description of him, you'd say?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I remember when I committed here, everybody knew who Ethan Petrie was. Yeah. And I committed here, and he was the first guy, like, he didn't know who I was. I never played at Clemson, so he never knew who I was. Yeah. But, you know, he shot me a text. He was like, so pumped to have you as, like, my teammate. Like, I'm so excited. Like, can't wait. Yeah. I was like, wow, okay, cool. It's Ethan Petrie just texted me that, you know. Yeah. It's cool. But no, looking at it now, like we have a really good relationship, you know, and he's a player that, you know, he knows he's good, but he doesn't have to tell anybody that he's good. Like like if he sees something in a player that's struggling, like he'll let him know. He'll help him the best that he can, you know. He's such a good player that, you know, he leads a lot by example. So, you know, it's easy to follow what he does, and it's easy to follow his approach. But no, I mean, he's been a great friend. He's been a great teammate, and it's awesome to have him on my team.
Well, I mean, you have a great view of watching him as a hitter. Most of the time, you're either on first, second, or third. What do you think are some of the things that make him such a special hitter? Like, what do you see?
He's not intimidated by anybody, you know, regardless of, I mean, we had every reason to be intimidated by the pitchers that we saw this past weekend.
Oh, we're going to get to them, too.
Oh yeah. Yep. But no, he just keeps, whether we're playing Sacred Heart or we're playing Oklahoma, it's the same approach for him throughout. Like, trust his swing, trust his preparation. You know, it doesn't matter who's on that mound. Yeah. You have belief in yourself. Like, you're going to get the job done. And that's what I think. That's what makes him so good. Yeah.
And we were up in the box calling this past weekend, and Dave Weinstein, he's the play-by-play guy. He mentioned a quote that Coach Mainieri said that you reminded him of a player named Jacoby Jones at LSU. Have you ever heard of Jacoby Jones?
I've not, no.
So, funny story. I played with Jacoby for about 5 years in Detroit. Okay. And the very first person I thought of when I watched you play the first game, I said, that's Jacoby Jones. Y'all are built the exact same, run like a deer. He was a second baseman at LSU. Okay. Moved out to center field when he got to pro ball. But that kind of leads me to, is there anybody that you modeled your game after growing up, or somebody that you idolized in professional baseball that you say, I want to kind of be like that guy? Yeah,
I mean, I'm a Red Sox fan. I lived up in Massachusetts when I was little, so Jarren Duran is someone that I really like to watch play. Yeah. Early on, it was Kevin Kiermaier, just the way he played in the outfield. Yeah. But, you know, knowing what, you know, the struggles that Jarren Duran went through early on, I was like, you know, it's kind of like me, you know? So seeing the success he's had, it's like, you know, that guy's gained a ton of respect from me. And I mean, he has no idea who I am, but, you know, he runs like a deer. He's in the outfield. He believes he catches anything. Like, he plays with his head on fire. And I try my best to do that as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you a little podcast homework. Go YouTube Jacoby Jones, LSU. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you look just like, your stance might be a little different, but just the way y'all play the game for sure. I'll do reminded me. Yeah. The Oklahoma series. We're sitting here on Monday. Tough series. You got to be encouraged how y'all played offensively. A couple things didn't go our way. Yep. My question is, how strange was it after battling against Kyson Witherspoon on Friday? You step into the box on Saturday, and to look out and see the exact same guy, identical twin. You can't tell them apart.
Oh my gosh!
And we were up in the box, and we're like, all right. Kyson Witherspoon had like 40 strikeouts in 20 innings. And we're looking at Malachi, his twin brother, his stat line. We're like, all right, he's got like 17 strikeouts in 18 innings. He must be like 90, 91, not have the stuff. And that first inning, he's pumping 98, 99 with like an 84 mile per hour curveball. Describe that experience facing those guys and that whole staff. But offensively, I thought we had a really good weekend.
I did too. I found out today we hit 350 in the series. And I think we out-hit them every single day. And knowing that we had that series, you know, it hurts, but, you know, it wasn't meant to be, and, you know, we'll bounce back and we'll take care of business. But, you know, facing Kyson on Friday, it was like, well, welcome to the SEC, Nate, right? You know, like, it was like, you think you've been playing good? Let's see how good you really are. Struck me out my first at bat. I think I put up a pretty good at bat. I think I maybe saw like 8 pitches from him that first at bat.
Y'all were doing that all weekend. Those long at bats, getting deep into the count.
Even though he had a dominant outing, the fact that we were able to see a lot of pitches from one of the best pitchers in the SEC is it's a very good sign. And, you know, even though we lost the series, you know, it showed us that, you know, we're a very good team and we can compete with anybody. But yeah, going back to the twin brothers, it was it was Kyson day 1,
Yeah.
right? And then Malachi day 2. I remember going up for my first at bat day
like
2,
deja vu.
and it was like, just face this guy.
The way they held their glove,
oh my gosh,
body type, everything
was crazy.
I had to ask it because I was like, I don't know what I'd do if I stepped in the box and was facing the exact same guy the next day.
We were all saying the same thing. We'd get back in there, we were like, okay.
Were there any differences in arm action?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, Kyson was straight over the top, and his ball was riding like crazy.
Yeah.
And then you had Malachi, who would start off the same setup as his brother, and right at release, it looks like he's letting the ball go at your head.
Yeah.
Like, which gave it that run and ride. So I remember saying I thought that Malachi, my first at bat, I thought that he had better stuff.
Yeah.
But it was, us showing that we can compete with him, and us, starting to barrel some balls up. And I remember Scobie smashing that ball. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. That kind of set the tone for us that game. And then, kind of just the lineup got it going at that point.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're a team that when we see one guy put up a good at bat, regardless of like a strike, if like one guy sees a lot of pitches from a top quality arm or barrels up a ball, it's kind of like, oh, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Like we got this guy.
We saw that all weekend. I mean, hitting so contagious. Carry on, Scobie, Talmadge, guys were swinging the bat better, and it just permeated throughout the lineup. So y'all got a fun couple weeks coming up. You got 2 midweek games. College of Charleston at Segra Park tomorrow. Yep. You've been to Segra with the Clemson Carolina series, and then North Carolina up at Truist. Have you ever played at Truist Field in Charlotte?
I have. Yeah, we played a midweek last year. Clemson played a midweek against Charleston, or not Charleston, Charlotte. But
that's a beautiful park.
It's awesome,
and the ball flies.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And then sandwiched in between those is a trip to Arkansas, who's a top 3 team, and then hosting the defending national champs, national champs, Tennessee here. Talk about the opportunity ahead, the excitement you have, kind of the reason you come to a program like a Clemson, like a South Carolina to play in these type of series.
Yeah, well, we got a gauntlet coming up for sure, but that's exactly why you come here.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach Mainieri says it all the time, like you come here to play against the best, and if Arkansas, North Carolina, and Tennessee aren't the best, then I don't know who is. But no, we're super excited for the opportunity, regardless of how this past weekend worked out.
Right.
Like we know we're a very talented team.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be a matter of time until we put it all together, our pitching and our hitting together.
Yeah.
So being able to try and put it together against those teams, because we know we can do it.
Yeah.
We're very confident in our ability.
Yeah.
So having the opportunity to be able to do it against those teams is very exciting. And I know nobody's nervous to play those guys.
Yeah.
Like, we know Arkansas is a pretty hostile environment, but bring it on.
Yeah,
I played in Clemson, and it's pretty bad there.
Yeah.
So,
y'all have fun. Arkansas is a really fun place to play. It'd be packed house every night. So you're 21 games into your Carolina career. Is it everything you expected so far exceeded your expectations of what you wanted when you entered the transfer portal and ultimately came back home to Columbia?
Well, obviously this is not what I was expecting. I was, kind of just like, continue to do what you do, Nate. Like, you're good enough. Just see how it plays out. And it's kind of what it was the whole fall. Like, just do your best, do your best. You're good enough. Stick to your routine. And, everything will work out in the end. But, I mean, to be leading off and playing center field for South Carolina it's absolute dream come true. Knowing, like, growing up, my mom worked here. So I came to a few Carolina games when I was young. And just seeing you guys out there, it was really, really unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I have to pinch myself sometimes, going up there, leading off a game. I'm like, this is real. This is
pretty cool.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
So,
I'll ask you a couple fun questions now. Did your dad ever get you to try a pole vault? Have you ever done it?
I mean, I remember watching videos of that and seeing the calluses. I mean, I got some pretty bad calluses, but my dad's hands were like split open from that stuff.
Really?
So no, he never.
Never done it?
Believe it or not, he's never like really tried to push me to do it. Yeah. He tried to get me to do javelin one time, which was so weird. But like, I guess like the hip rotation, the acceleration, kind of similar to a baseball swing.
Yeah.
So, but never done that.
Did they ever talk to you about? I saw you were academic all ACC at Clemson for 2 years, and he went to Penn, an Ivy League school. Did they ever push you to be like, hey, go up to the Northeast, go to Harvard, go to Yale, because you could obviously could have played there.
Yeah.
Did they ever try and push that on you?
No, it's always like my parents are so great. Like if they see something in me and, I believe the same thing, they're going to kind of ride it out. And that was baseball. Like we wanted to go somewhere like where I could play baseball at a high level.
Yeah.
And, I had good grades in high school as well. And that's kind of the standard that my parents set for me in elementary school, middle school, high school is, like we know that you want to play baseball, but you better be getting good grades too. So
Yep.
it was it was a relationship where you're getting good grades, we're not going to bother you about it.
Yeah.
You're not getting good grades, like there's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they've backed off now, but I know that, being a student is first and, school's a priority and I can't just slide it under the rug. So,
So I think you're probably my 7th or 8th guest. I've known all my previous ones, whether played with them or known them. I've never met you before.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you, what do you like to do for fun? Are you a video gamer, a hunter, a fisher, a golfer? What do you like to do for fun? Because you got to have some sort of escape and release away from the field.
Yep. So there's like the basics. I love video games, hiking, fishing. But the main thing, I've been playing drums for 11 years.
Really?
Yep. And my dad plays the piano and the guitar. And back in my apartment in Olympia Mills, we got kind of like a music studio going on. My electric drum kit's in there. We got a piano in there and we got a guitar. And whenever
Who plays the guitar?
My dad.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad. He's piano, guitar, and he sings.
Okay.
So
he'll come over to Olympia and play.
Oh
with
yeah. Oh yeah. He'll send me a song, or he'll send me a track of him singing over a song and being like, practice this for me.
Okay.
And then it's so much fun. Like being able to do that with my dad is awesome. It's kind of like it's another connection that we have that nobody else has.
This opened up a whole count. So I love classic rock.
Oh my God.
My favorite band is Led Zeppelin. Do you ever watch John Bonham? I would assume.
My favorite drummer. Yeah.
All right, we'll connect after this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love classic rock. I cannot play an instrument. What's your favorite John Bonham track?
Moby Dick.
Yep.
I mean that his drum solo in that song is like.
I mean, it's pretty much all drums.
It's so fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we'll connect about that.
Yeah.
Well, that's really all I got, man. It's been awesome meeting you. Just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to come on. Can't wait to watch the rest of your Carolina career. You're obviously going to have a professional career. Excited to watch you through that, and just want to say thanks, man.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Grayson. It's been
absolutely.
awesome.
That'll do it for this week's Whole Lotta Glove. I'll see y'all next time.